So I was thinking the other day about this time when I had convinced someone to do something that they didn't want to do, and I realized that I think that was the first time I actually closed a sale. So I was thinking way back to 1984. It would be summer of that year. We were driving from the small town of Killarney, where we lived, up to Winnipeg, Manitoba. We get into Winnipeg and we pull over to the area where my aunt and uncle live, and we were there with my father and my mother and my little sister. And so we were eventually sitting in. They were living in a townhome style place, very humble, and we were sitting around the kitchen table as was customary, and what was being served was the traditional McKay tea. So in a pot of boiling hot water, 4 to 5 red rose tea bags are steeped and steeped and steeped until you have black water. And this is McKay tea. So this particular occasion, I decided I am going to be an adult. I am going to have some McKay tea. And so they served me some, and it was disgusting. It was so tannic. It was brutal. Anyhow, conversation around the table was my father and his brother, my Uncle Charlie. And they were telling all these grandiose tales from when they were young and people they had interacted with, things that they did as boys. And, they broke things, got into places they shouldn't have. And they're, playing pranks on their other brothers and all these things that they got on. And, of course, there's the one story that always has come up. It's like a McKay legend. It's about this big orange fish. So, legend has it, it's like they lived in this little, out in the sticks, as they call it. A place called Rock Lake. It's an actual lake, and they had seen this large fish, and I remember as a kid them describing it as about 18 inches. But as many years have ensued, that thing has grown about a foot a year. It's like 80 inches long. It's this massive fish now. It's about yay thick. Yeah. Anyhow, the big orange fish was always a good one. It's a tall tale that was always fun to listen to. In this particular occasion, I was sitting there watching my dad talk and listening to my uncle respond, and I looked over at their kitchen. They had a curio cabinet there with a bunch of their good dishes, and the one drawer was open slightly, and I could see in there some papers, and it's kind of disheveled, and then I saw some wires. And I'm a kid. We weren't well off, so we didn't have a lot of, things that were kind of super cool. In this particular case, I saw a pair of Walkie Talkies. Now I had never seen these outside of television or down at the mall at the Radio Shack. So I'm zeroed in. So I finally, I kind of get up the courage to ask my uncle and say, do those work? So I'm hoping maybe he'll let me try them out. And he's like, oh yeah, those work. I'm like, oh, cool. And then he resumes his conversation with whatever he was saying with my dad. And I'm normally just enthralled with their stories and what they're saying, but this particular time, I don't know what they're talking about. I'm focused on these things. So I finally said, well, so do you still use them? So I'm trying to get him talking about using these things and maybe try them out. No, I don't use those. I'm like, oh, interesting. So I realized, okay, well, if he's not using them, maybe I could get to use them. Because I'm like, maybe my cousin and I could go use them and play with this. And I said, well, if you're not using them, maybe you can give them to me. And he kind of looks over at them and looks at me and he's like, no. I keep asking him these questions, and I keep probing it. And actually, I'm not really sure where I was going with it, but then I realized, you know what? I discovered he's not using them. He doesn't really want them, really. And so I said, things like, well, if you're not going to use them, maybe you should just give them to me. I'll put them to good use. Like I'm a good Samaritan, like I'm a philanthropist. I'm just going to go and, for the betterment of mankind, I'm going to use these Walkie Talkies, right? Because 9-year-old kids, that's what they do. They make the world better with Walkie Talkies. So, anyways, I got him kind of at this point. He's a little bit agitated, a little bit annoyed with me because I keep asking about these stupid things. But then near the end, it's like, I'm like, well, you're not going to use them, so I'm thinking, maybe you should just let me have them. He's like, well, that's, I think you can tell he's saying, well, that's bold, you little rotter. Like, no, he's like, they're expensive. Like, I can't just give them to you. And then I said something like, well, if you're not going to use them, maybe I could use them for the summer, and I can give them back to you the next time we're here in Winnipeg. He's like, well, because I know I'm not going to give them back. But I think finally he reaches and he grabs them, puts them on the table for me. And then I realized, holy crap, I just got these Walkie Talkies. But I actually didn't take them because I actually immediately had some buyer's remorse. Or some seller's remorse, don't know. But I realized, you know what, I didn't give him anything, so I kind of felt like I had coerced him. Like I wore him down, I got what I wanted, closed the deal, but it wasn't a good deal, right? Because I didn't provide anything in exchange for what I got. So, this was the first time in my mind, I've closed the deal. I closed the sale, I got someone to do, motivated someone out of their comfort zone to give me something they wanted to not do. And I kind of regret not, thinking more about this experience as an adult, because there's a lot of lessons in there. Like one, I was, even at that age, I had the moral scruples not to take advantage of someone at the end of it, right? So I didn't take these Walkie Talkies, but there was a kind of something at play. I mean, that was my first time I was trying to convince someone, and I was calm. There was a little bit of that side activity, and I was able to ponder it and think it through and just communicate with this guy and eventually get what I wanted, which I think was a really sharp life lesson. I wish I had thought a little bit more of it. And so as I kind of think about it now as an adult, I think, okay, well, you have to build a rapport with people if you want them to do something. That's kind of part of the vision I have with this channel is, I'm documenting as I go along with my journey in rebuilding my software, the marketing for my software. But it's in my mind, it's turning into something a little bit grander than that. It's turning into a kind of an experience that I think is common for a lot of e-commerce sellers, and I want to grow a community or a movement, if you will, around this central theme of ruling your realm. Because I think if we are taking advantage of the circumstances before us in the right way, we can actually do more than what we think we can. And even at that young age, when I was convincing my uncle to give me Walkie Talkies, I didn't think it was possible to actually get them. Like, he actually gave them to me. I'm like, wow, this is phenomenal. Like, I convinced an adult whom I deeply respected to do what he didn't want to do. And as I think through some of my life experiences and where I kind of got into certain sales situations, and I think, okay, I've always had this thing in the back of my mind weighing on me about leaving something on the table and making sure there's enough value for everybody. There's a win-win. So I've always kind of negotiated, but I've always kind of backed away and counter-negotiated with my own self to kind of make sure that there's enough value on the table for everybody. And I think my goal here with this community I want to share with you is, we can do that in many aspects of life and in business. And I think it's a really smart thing to do that, because if we're always in the take mode, no one's going to win. And everyone's just going to fight over the same resources. But if we're leaving enough on the table for others, we can walk away and both win. We both have something of value that we want, and no one's feeling cheated. But there's a bit of a two-way, right? It's a contribution that you have to make into the world around you. It's a contribution you have to make to your own family, and I'm doing what I can to now share what I've learned in life into your life, into your business, and I'm hoping this helps. So I would love to hear your feedback. Come onto YouTube and share some comments, feedback, and if you like this, thumb it up and share it, like it, and subscribe and hit that little bell notification, and hopefully I can send you some more videos. Have yourself a great day.